up, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. Welcome back to the Friday Show. For those of you that are new here, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I like to talk about the news, world events, and then Friday, it is all about the conversation. I go back through the last week of videos, I look at your comments, and then I comment back. Yes, this is a show, but it is also a conversation. But before we jump into that, I need to briefly mention the story people have been spamming me about over the past 24 hours. The initial accusations were massive YouTubers RiceGum and FaZe K. They beat on this small live streamer, a guy by the name of Rage Stew, tweeting, "If anybody would help, I'd say Philly D. They stole a bunch of my shit and I have bruises and scars from them slamming me and kicking me and punching me while I was being held down. Thanks, FaZe K, RiceGum, at Philly D, please help. You guys also stole over $100 of my stuff that I bought using my little donation money from live streams. Why? I don't have much." Then tweeting out more injury pictures with the captions, "From picking me up and slamming me against the rocks as I was screaming that I was trying to leave. You can hear it on stream." People were sending video from Rage's live stream where all of a sudden you do see FaZe K show up. And then of course you definitely hear that something happened, but you can't really see it on camera. The screen's black during the live stream. And so after hearing the accusations, seeing those injuries, I was really concerned, but a big thing of note. The more I looked into this, the less Rage Stew seemed like an innocent victim. Apparently the reason this guy was around RiceGum's house is he wanted to go to and get in RiceGum's house. He says this in the stream.
One of these, go to RiceGum's house. Yeah, that's what we're doing, man. That's the whole point of the stream, right? I mean, I don't know yet what I'm gonna do once I get up there. I'm not gonna like fucking kill the guy or anything, all right? I'm just gonna see. It's just gonna be like the Team 10 house bullshit, you know?
There he's referencing how he was able to get into Jake Paul's house, the Team 10 house. And also a big note is Rage got arrested. We know this in part due to Rage's tweets where he's also making accusations. There he's tweeting, "I was arrested, handcuffs and everything. Little dude that punched and kicked me while his friend was holding me down called them. They sent a police helicopter to get me. I'm bruised and scarred from them jumping me and they stole a bunch of my shit. LAPD was nice." FaZe K also released a video later showing the actual helicopter looking and seemingly finding him. And as far as why he was arrested, it's not like this guy was just on some hiking trail, right? Public property, hiking trail. Rage seems to have live streamed himself committing a crime. He was trespassing. We see him in his own live stream say, "Hey, let's commit a crime."
So let's go trespass in this, I like how I say that all casually and shit. Let's go trespass right here. Onto the fucking pool area. Fuck yeah, dude.
He once again acknowledges he's going into a place not open to the public. We then see him opening gates, jumping into the property.
Fucking hell. Alright, we're in, guys.
Noting that he thinks that there's someone in the house maybe looking at him.
And I can't tell if the people in this house are watching me because there's tainted windows.
Then he's talking about how he needs to be stealthy.
It's just, I think stealthy is the best way to go here because it's gonna give us the tactical advantage.
And then he starts actually trying to record into the houses that he thinks RiceGum is in.
Oh shit, is that RiceGum right there?
And then he ends up being confronted by people concerned why the hell he's there.
What up, guys? What the fuck are you doing, bro?
And then, thanks to FaZe K uploading a video because that's what you do when you're accused of assaulting someone. You end up seeing the other side of the interaction, and nothing in that makes it seem like FaZe K is in any way the aggressor or he's the person that attacked. So I don't know why Rage is saying thanks at FaZe K, RiceGum. We do see another guy slapping Rage's phone away from him.
No, we were just watching. Hey, chill.
Then K says he leaves the situation. People try to detain him till the police show up. And somehow Rage gets away. The police have to find him. But here's what I have to say. From all the evidence we see right now, I have very little, if any, sympathy for Rage. It appears that he intended to and knowingly committed a crime and then tried to get away after the police were called. He claims there were injuries from an attack, but as of right now, there's no video evidence of it. We just hear sounds. There are people who could easily argue that he may have incurred those injuries as he was running away. He was trying to get away in crazy terrain. And all while you were doing this, you were trying to film into people's private homes. That's disgusting. How would you think that I would be on your side? If these guys rolled up on you while you're just hanging out at the promenade or something like that, sure, full-on assholes. But all I end up seeing here are concerned citizens and a criminal. But hey, that's just how I see the situation. I, of course, would love to know, those watching right now, what your thoughts are. But that said, let's jump into the Monday show. Monday, we talked about the Jake Paul Banks assault story, the total eclipse, and the Boston protests. On the Jake Paul story, Sven V wrote, "Nice show, Phil. Wondering how long the Jake Paul drama is gonna drag on, though, even though he's not really at the center of it at the moment. He's such an ass. We gotta respect the guy for his hustle, I guess." So I've said this from the beginning, I've said it before and after I've said that I think that Jake Paul is conducting himself like an asshole. He's been incredibly successful at winning this online game, fantastic in manipulation and figuring out ways to get people to care. And a lot of that has been orchestrating drama, but this is a different thing, and we can say that he's not at the center of his drama. But at the end of the day, it's not just his assistant in the video that made the accusation. He threw it out there. He decided to make it this kind of thing. He could have made the decision to let the police handle it if there was definitive evidence that this happened. Then show that, but instead, the way he pulls this off, it looks like he's using this situation as clickbait. There's serious accusations made in that video against Banks as far as an intentional assault, but there are multiple sources that even confirmed the assistant thought it was an accident from the beginning. But then the thing that was being described as maybe an accident, which was just this purposeful hit and grab. This isn't typical drama, I'm gonna make a diss track on you, blah, blah, blah bullshit. We're talking about a situation where it appears that a crime took place, either an assault or defamation. So to Damn Son, who wrote, in my opinion, the Jake Paul drama is fabricated to bring more attention to both channels. Jake Paul on H3's podcast said all publicity is good publicity. Seems rather obvious to me. For me, seeing that people have that kind of thinking, it makes me realize that Banks, the person being accused here, is in an incredibly shitty situation. He's accused of publicly cheating on his girlfriend, assaulting a girl, and then on the opposite end, people are saying that he's faking it for views. He's in on it with Jake Paul. He was okay with being accused of being a guy that hits women. Like, that's crazy to me that someone could think that. And on the Boston protest and counter-protest, Chance Stevens wrote, regardless of your view on the rally, the counter-protesters were also using their freedom of speech. They did this the right way, peacefully. Those who turned to violence undermined their message, but the vast majority were peaceful. And so the question I want to kind of pass off to you beautiful bastards is, at what point do you view the actions of some of that group as representative of the whole? And I mean that both for the groups that you see on the left and the right. Because you have, what, 30,000 plus people seemingly peaceful. But you also have parts of those crowds that are screaming in the faces of people leaving the free speech rally. Some look like everyday Trump supporters. There was that guy in that 14-word shirt, though. And then you have an even smaller section of that group that are doing shitty things like throwing stuff at cops, whether it be rocks or bottles of urine, grabbing at people's stuff, grabbing on people, at times hitting people, straight up attacking them. Why is it then that so many people associate with the entirety of the left with some violent Antifa? That somehow those people represent the whole, even though there's video instances of people trying to stop the violence. It's one thing if it's the entirety of the group, but I don't think that's what we're even seeing here. And the same thing on the right. You see people that just don't agree with you, and you bulk them in with racist white supremacists. And once again, this isn't me making a point here. It's a question that I want you to ask yourself and then answer to me in the comments down below, if you got the time. And then let's talk about the Tuesday show. Tuesday, we talked about the Brilliant Earth Diamond scandal, the celeb photo leak, and the Donald Trump Afghanistan comment. On the Brilliant Earth Diamond story, Gliga wrote, huge props and respect to you, Phil. I've always liked you as a person and as a YouTuber, but this is next level shit. I've not heard about this anywhere else, and judging by the media portrayal of the guy, I may have ended up believing that he is a drug dealing pimp. This is important shit, and I'm so glad I am informed on it, and that I know who that guy is and what the company is doing. I'm sorry, I'm laughing, because just reading that comment, it sounds like I wrote it. Phil, what's it like being so fucking dope? But no, it's my pleasure to do that, especially, I mean, anytime you see a singular person or just a small group, and it just looks like the heel of a giant corporation is just hovering above their heads, you feel like you gotta help, especially since I'm lucky enough to have a platform. Katak wrote, why the fuck would anyone care where the diamond is from? It's a diamond, you want a diamond, a transaction happens and everyone is happy. Someone should start killing all these moralist pricks acting all important about the origins of the diamond. They're not ethical people, they're just trying to get attention by stirring up trouble. Fuck them all. Sometimes going through the comments, I realize I am not the most cynical person in the world. So as far as why people care if their diamond is a conflict diamond / a blood diamond, we went through that. But let's even say you don't give a damn about diamonds. Essentially, what this boils down to potentially is a false advertisement case. Let's say you love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but one day you find out that a bunch of peanut butter jelly sandwiches are made by pedophiles. All of a sudden, maybe you feel guilty. All that money you're spending on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, they're going to support the person that's kid touching. But then in walks a company and they say, hey, guess what? We can 100% guarantee that the peanut butter jelly sandwiches that we are selling definitely there were no kid touchers involved. And of course, to make sure that it wasn't a pedophile that made your sandwich, we're gonna have to charge a premium. Then one day you find out that all those steps to make sure that the people you didn't want to support were not supported by your money is bullshit. And you may have actually still supported them even though you paid more money. Some people will care, some people will not care. On the celeb nude hack, Alex Paris wrote, is it even hacking anymore if it's exposing Miley Cyrus? Pretty sure there's nothing that hasn't been seen, and especially by our own disclosure, haha. So my answer to that is yes. It's all about consent and theft to me. Theft, because even though we're talking about digital file, if you think about it in the context of someone breaking into your home and stealing your shit, that's theft. Consent, because let's say we've seen a celebrity naked in a movie. Maybe they did a tasteful nude set for insert photographer. Then you have a hacker taking someone's personal files and then without their consent throwing it out there for the world to consume. Also, maybe that person's in a different state of their life where they're like, you know what, I don't want to show my body anymore. Simply put, just because you've seen it before doesn't mean you have a right to that person's body. And then we had the Wednesday show. Wednesday, we talked about the ESPN and Robert Lee situation, the huge update to the H3H3 lawsuit, the taser death investigation, and the online hate speech situation in the UK. On the Robert Lee story, Techie Girl Chic wrote, I actually think ESPN is in the right. This was a situation where they were damned if they did and damned if they didn't. In their statement, they said the right thing. It's a shame this seemingly easy and just decision was leaked, because the leak is what made this a big deal. This was an internal corporate decision to be sensitive to a situation, and it's being blown out of proportion. David Harrison wrote, no, I'm with ESPN. What ESPN did was nothing like what Pepsi did. They were being proactive. Pepsi created a situation while ESPN saw a possible wreck and tried to steer away from it. No fault for them. They were just being smart about their network and networking. Now, I feature those comments not because they were the majority, but because there were people that disagreed with my opinion here. Once again, that's fine, but there was no evidence that they were actually steering away from a real situation. You had an anonymous ESPN exec saying that because people were memeing in response to them finding out that ESPN made this move because they were scared of memes, that is pretty damning evidence that they were right, which is 100% not the case. It's kind of like, remember when Harambe memes were a thing, but then they were dying off, and then there was a report that the zoo was like, could you just not with the memes? And then there was an influx. If I make a video and I'm like, guys, can you please not send Swedish fish to my fucking mailbox anymore? I'm about to be swimming in Swedish fish. Or if then a report comes out that Philip DeFranco shut down his P.O. box because he was worried people were gonna send him Swedish fish, you'll be damn sure people are gonna find the address of my actual office and mail me Swedish fish. Also a note that some of these people that disagreed with me hit on was, well, Phil, Robert Lee also agreed to do that. And I want to point out, as user Linus Dick Tips, which is a fantastic name by the way, Linus wrote, quote, eventually we mutually agreed, so they forced him. I want you to think of the situation this way. Robert Lee's bosses came to him, and most likely they were like, you know what, this is gonna be a shit show of a situation, it's gonna be horrible, we think this is probably for the best, but it's ultimately up to you. If that's coming from a creative partner, okay, there's a conversation there, you know, we're trying to work things out together. When it comes from your boss, when it comes from up top, it's a different thing. Inside, Robert Lee might have been like, you know what, I don't want to fight him on this. I don't give a damn sure. Now, the one defense I will give ESPN here is that as a very public company, they are on the receiving end of a lot of shit. Last week, we talked about people getting angry because they did an auction draft system on screen, and people were like, that's racist, but it was just a fantasy football system that was auctioning off white and black players. And so I understand why there might have been an executive like, you know what, let's not deal with anything. But you don't just give in to emotional, stupid people. Someone's always going to be angry at you. There's no such thing as a universally loved individual. The closest you get to that is The Rock. Even he has detractors. Side note to that story, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and this is aside from what I was just talking about. Imagine if it came out tomorrow that the Rock drowns puppies. What would the public reaction, what would your reaction be? Is that on the same level as O.J. Simpson murder accusations, or is that, or Bill Cosby rape allegations? I mean, I personally say, you know, do not believe that a celebrity, the image that they put forward on the internet, that is them. Don't believe that. You're not seeing the actual artist online, you're seeing their self-portrait, but I think my brain would short circuit, but okay, that's a random thought. And then let's talk about Thursday. Thursday, we talked about the accusations of child abuse, the forced cheerleader splits controversy, and YouTube deleting videos that were being used as evidence. On the viral video of that little 3-year-old girl getting slapped in the face while trying to just count numbers, Costatron 2 wrote, that slap was a bit too much, but we need to discipline our children. I mean, why do you think we have Jake Paul? This is why YouTube comments are dangerous for me, because sometimes people say messed up shit and it makes me laugh. Side note, I believe that it would be fantastic if Jake Paul's parents put out a parenting book, and specifically what they did with Jake, not so much Logan, but with Jake, so we know like what key things not to do. But then let's get to a real comment from I am Albert Wesker 2. Are you the real one if you had to put 2? Sir Albert, if that is your actual name. Being raised by being spanked, getting the slipper, etc., I can say it's an effective punishment and do not have any dislike for my parents. However, from what we see in the video, I would not consider that slap across the face worthy punishment. And all who defend this kind of treatment of a child need to seriously reevaluate themselves as a person. So this is actually something that, no pun intended, I want to hit on. In the Thursday video, I was talking about people hitting their kids and talked about how I was hit. And a lot of people connected that phrasing to me talking about spanking. That's not specifically what I was talking about. We can think about it in 3 tiers, right? They're the parents that don't hit, maybe they scream or they're like time out or whatever. Then there are parents that spank, so that ranges from bare hand to maybe a belt or a giant stick. And then at the top, and once again, there is a range, there are people that hit their kids. And that's what we witnessed here. And you had the uncle defending this, saying, you know, the child's so stubborn. The child was crying because she didn't want to learn. You watch the video. She's wincing and pulling away and expecting a smack because she got a number wrong. This is not in the tier of corporal punishment because your child was a bad child. This is a grown-ass adult smacking a 3-year-old girl in the face because she, what, got a number wrong? wrong? This is disgusting to me, and what really sucks is it really appears that this kind of abuse is cyclical. Not always, like I said, I have a fucked up past, and my personal situation is I stray away from that completely. Which is very easy to go, well, that happened to me and I turned out fine. That's the way you do it, and what you don't even realize is you're undercutting how much you have actually had to emotionally overcome. But that's just my opinion on it. Then on the cheerleader for split story, Allie Metcalf wrote, being a former cheerleader and gymnast, that video made me break into tears. I did have my split. It took me over a year to get my split after many months of stretching and practicing every day. Seeing him try to force her down made me remember the pain of trying to do it myself. Even with my own weight, it hurt to try to split. And to imagine a grown man's weight on top of that makes me cringe. And that was a majority of the comments on this story. People with gymnast backgrounds, people with cheer backgrounds. Maria Wingren, the coach has been put on leave. He should be fired immediately. Forcing it will only do damage. The pain he caused those girls is unnecessary and disgusting. Cindy Hall, I was a competitive gymnast in high school and after, and I have never seen such a horrific practice. You condition, warm up, and over time become limber and strong enough to accomplish various maneuvers. And they go on, and there were people with martial arts backgrounds saying, like, you can't force this. And those just continued and continued, but I did find one person. Mark Kimmel wrote, my football coach made us do leg lifts until we almost puked. Wrestling coach made me actually get my butt whooped until I didn't anymore. Training hurts and has a huge payoff. Then the number one response to that was from Denise Fudge, who wrote, the difference here is she was physically unable to stop it. You could have walked away at any point before the injuries occurred. She was being held down by multiple people while crying for them to stop. And Denise hits on a really important point here, and that is she is being held down. It becomes a consent issue. There were also several gymnasts that were like, yes, overstretching, it sucks. I have friends help me, but only to the point I am comfortable with. You had a group of people, including a grown man, not only holding her down, but pushing her further into the movement. And with this being after the fact, we know that she was physically injured by this. Still just horrific to me. And I think that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. I do want to thank you, beautiful bastards, for another fantastic week. Thank you whether you're just watching, you're leaving comments, you're hitting the like button, you're sharing, maybe you're supporting on DeFrancoElite.com. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But with that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.